Tansei, I'm Krisanachkite. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. The man wanted by Saskatchewan RCMP for a firearm incident in Zagime Anishinabek and may be connected to the quadruple homicide in the Kettle, Nakoda Nation was arrested by Regina police late last night. 30 a.m. last night, 29-year-old Keegan Panapakisik was located after Regina police conducted an operation in Matthew Crescent. RCMP put out an update shortly after 1 a.m. confirming the arrest. Police have yet to confirm if Panapakisik was connected to the 4 deaths in the Kettle, but he was considered a person of interest. On Tuesday at around 11:15 a.m., the File Hills Police Service received a report of sudden deaths at a home in the Kettle. Police later found the bodies of 4 people inside a home, and police have not identified the victims. In a statement posted to social media, the Kettle Chief Scott Ashapi said there was a break and enter in a home Monday night on the north side of the reserve, and that a homicide investigation was underway. Then at 3:15 p.m., 4 hours later, RCMP received a report of a firearm incident in Zagime Anishinabek, located about 40 minutes away from the Kettle near Grenfell. During that time, the neighboring Kawasis, Kakawishtahow, and Ochapowace First Nation released public alert notices to its members, some of them before the RCMP, telling its members to lock their doors and stay vigilant. Kawasis and Ochapowace named 2 suspects, including Panapakisik, and there was a heavy police presence with police searching for him in homes in Zagime and Kawasis, with much of the local services closed for the rest of the day. Saskatchewan RCMP said on Tuesday afternoon it was carefully monitoring the situation, including doing an ongoing assessment on whether a dangerous person alert was required. In a statement, Kawasis Chief Erica Bowden said, "When one of our nations are suffering, we are all impacted, and we will pull together to do what is necessary to help carry the sorrow, as well as the pathway to solutions." Zagime Chief Lynn Akus added, "Our community walks alongside the people of the Kettle. As you carry the burden of these losses, we hope that justice prevails for the people who lost their lives to this senseless violence." And the Kettle Chief Ashapi closed by saying, "Please pray for our nation and our families." Panapakisik has a lengthy criminal record past and done time for previous firearm-related charges. Saskatchewan RCMP is expected to provide more details on the arrest later today. Manitoba RCMP have arrested a teenager and are asking the public's help in locating another man after 2 separate shooting incidents in Puckatawagan in northern Manitoba. On Saturday, February 1st at around 4 a.m., RCMP were called to the local nursing station where a 36-year-old male was being treated for a gunshot wound. He told police that he was threatened by a male suspect when he got into a vehicle with 4 other occupants after he was offered a ride. A struggle ensued inside the vehicle and the victim was shot. He was able to escape and run to safety. While police were still on scene, a second male with a gunshot wound entered the nursing station. This 43-year-old man was not cooperative with police. A 16-year-old male was then arrested at a residence in Puckatawagan and charged with aggravated assault and discharge of a firearm with intent, among other charges. RCMP are also looking for 22-year-old Austin Castell in relation to the first shooting. If anyone knows of Castell's whereabouts, you are asked to contact RCMP or Crime Stoppers. The former chief of police of the Anishinaabe Police Service was terminated in October of 2024. He's now firing back with a lawsuit against the service. Roland Morrison was the chief of NAPS, the largest First Nations police service in Canada, from 2019 to October 29th of 2024, when the NAPS board announced his termination. In a statement of claim, Morrison, who had 27 years of service with NAPS, is seeking $2.5 million in lost wages and other damages. Morrison was placed on administrative leave in March of last year, pending an investigation into a discrimination complaint made by a NAPS employee, allegations of which Morrison has denied. Morrison says he was never provided with the results of the investigation, but he had previously been told by board reps that it would not impact his employment. He alleges Naps engaged in a fishing expedition to try to find something that could justify his termination. Morrison also alleges he was discriminated against and that most senior positions in Naps are occupied by non-Indigenous personnel. Naps has filed a notice that will defend the action. You can find much more on this story on our website. In Nova Scotia, the Minister of Transport and Internal Trade, Anita Anand, stopped at a Mi'kmaq First Nation on Tuesday. She was there to announce the federal government will invest $25 million under the Oceans Protection Plan. It will continue to strengthen the role of Indigenous communities to manage marine safety. Anand made the announcement at the Millbrook First Nation Cultural Center. She said $109 million will support the Maritime Situational Awareness Initiative. It provides marine safety and environmental monitoring. Minister Anand also said an additional $16 million will help 36 Indigenous communities across Canada hire Indigenous marine coordinators. They will help design ocean protection initiatives. The Millbrook First Nation is part of the Oceans Protection Plan program. Chief Bob Glode says the additional funding will mean a full-time safety marine coordinator in his community.
To ensure their well-being and their safety for our community. Because at the end of the day, it's about bringing our fishermen back home safely and securely so that they can continue to enjoy their life and also with their community, but it's part of the capacity building within our team.
On Tuesday in Winnipeg, the province and the feds announced they were going to spend $81 million on the railway that connects to the northern port of Churchill. They say the funding is aimed at improving international trade and boosting the northern economy. Canada is earmarking $45.3 million, and Manitoba is dedicating $36.4 million over 2 years to the Arctic Gateway Group. The group is a partnership between 29 First Nations and 12 remote communities in Manitoba. They own the Port of Churchill. The funding will help finish much-needed repairs to the rail line, improve passenger service, and improve the transportation of essential goods and critical minerals. Canada will also invest another $2.3 million on training Northerners to work in the mining industry. At a Tuesday press conference, Liberal MP for St. Boniface, Dan Vandel, spoke about the importance of the investments.
Canada needs their federal leadership for Churchill, for the North, and for the entire country. And in these unpredictable times, and I'm being polite, in these unpredictable times we are currently living in, investing in the North and the Arctic is more important than ever. But investing in Churchill, Manitoba, is the same. It is more important than ever. And I know I speak for Manitoba Caucus when I say that we will be supporting Churchill for as long as it takes. Vive la Canada!
A new affordable housing development had its ribbon-cutting ceremony on Monday in the Griesbach area of Edmonton. Our APTN Chris Stewart got to see the new building firsthand.
The Otipemisiwak Métis government, formerly known as the Métis Nation of Alberta, are putting the final touches on the Cecil Belrose Manor. It's named after the former president of what was MNA Region 4 in Alberta, who passed away in 2021. On Monday, they gave a tour to media of the 127-unit building. It will have 42 barrier-free suites with accessibility for disabled people, 10 fully automated suites, a gym, and childcare for its members. The rent will be set at a lower rate than those offered in the city. This will allow families to afford to stay.
We are very excited to be here today and to officially cut the ribbon for the Cecil Belrose Manor. This is a project that our housing corporations have been working on for a long time in collaboration with the City of Edmonton, Canada Lands, and we're really excited that we're going to be, getting more people into stable housing, more of our citizens into stable housing.
President Andrea Sandmeyer says high living expenses make it harder for people to stay afloat. She says they are prioritizing single mothers.
It's an expensive life right now, and we need to make sure that they're able to, buy groceries and do the things that they need to do and have a safe place for kids. And it's putting a dent in it, but we have a lot more to do.
She says they are looking for partners to build more affordable housing for their citizens around the province.
When we can put 4 walls around a family and give them a warm place to call home, I think they're going to thrive. They're going to be able to have a happy home and be able to have a great life.
Families are expected to move into Cecil Belrose Manor this spring. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
The work to educate the next generation about residential schools is ongoing. We'll tell you what's being done in Manitoba when we come back in about 3 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. A nursery to grade 12 residential school curriculum will soon be available in Manitoba. The Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Centre started rolling it out this month to some of its 49 member communities. It comes in a 4-bundle set filled with teachers' guides and lesson plans for all school-aged kids. Hear from 2 of the developers about how the new resource is based on the experience of residential school survivors.
So there's a framework that we created where teachers can check off. My name is Brenda Delorme. I'm from Opaskwayak Cree Nation, and my role here at the Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Centre is the manager for in-school and community services. We tried to create resource bundles, which would focus on Manitoba stories, because as you know, we're still living through the impacts of residential schools. My father is a residential school survivor. I'm a day school survivor. And then when we go and do the training in the local community, often some of the teachers are residential school survivors. And so when we do training at the schools, we do bring in elders who share their stories. Okay, so this Our Residential School Story was written by Melody Dumas.
It means everything, because before the schools didn't teach none of this. Hi, my name is Diane Powderhorn, and I am the instructional resource developer, and I am sizing Dene from Tadulili. I went to Dauphin, a Mackay residential school, from 1973 to 1975. We would leave the end of August or beginning of September. In my case, it was on a float plane and then land in Thompson and then get on a train from Thompson to Dauphin. It was a 3-day train ride. First time on a train, and it was so long, and I remember lots of kids crying. And it's like our history was forgotten before. Now it's like we're showing everybody. We're showing the kids, we're showing the babies, we're showing the teachers, we're showing their parents the history of what happened. It's like, oh my gosh, it just warms my heart, and I'm excited for the child taken and the parent left behind. And I thought, oh my God, right there looking at it.
It's amazing what the stories are about when they're shared by the elders with the children at the schools. They're gentle stories, but then they make a large impact on building empathy towards why we are and who we are.
Beautiful story. Big thanks to our TR Wheatley for that one. Tens of thousands of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and their allies hit the streets on Australia Day last Sunday for a day of protest. Invasion Day rallies were held in every state capital as well as many regional centers to highlight the concerns of First Nations mobs around the country. Here is that report from our friends at NITV in Australia.
A chant echoed across the country to recognise the custodianship of First Nations people. On the steps of State Parliament in Melbourne, thousands gathered to hear speeches.
We know who we are, we have an identity, we have the dream time, but we haven't got what we are entitled to, and that's our
before marching through the city. Flags were spread throughout Brisbane's CBD and Musgrave Park as people called for the nation to learn Indigenous history.
It's important to show our respect to our ancestors. They were on the front line fighting for our country, fighting for our culture, fighting for our people. And that's the reason why we're here today, because they fought so hard. And so I think it's important to start carrying on that legacy.
And today, it's just recognition that we're still around.
What do we want? When do we want it?
In the capital, calls for Aboriginal rights alongside support for Palestinians in Gaza, as people fill the streets of Perth too. Darwin began the day with a smoking ceremony, where traditional owners invited the crowd for a moment of cleansing, followed by a dance performance from the remote community of Burralula.
For us today, it's show day. And we're happy to be able to sing those songs. This morning, watching the Latakia dances this morning, and people's faces smiling and laughing, and we're conversing. Now that's our way of making a difference.
In Hobart, instead of a minute of silence, people held what they called a minute of power.
And letting the whole world hear the sound of the change that is coming. So everybody on your feet.
There were counter-protests in Melbourne as well as Adelaide. Marches there were followed by a concert by band Coloured Stone.
A lot of support here from Black and White to come and support. It's a memory that we gotta talk about this history, what happened.
Traffic was disrupted in Sydney as thousands marched, determined to get their voices heard.
I'm marching today for my people, for the future generation, for my kids.
Aboriginal people exist. We live and we die on this country. We live for this country. Change the date.
The march in Sydney ended here at the Yarbin Festival with musical acts and dance performances on display in a celebration of Indigenous culture.
These traditional displays are a symbol of strength and survival. Ricky Kirby, NITV News.
We now want to tell you about this week's web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, do you think appointing an Indigenous knowledge keeper in the Canadian Armed Forces is a positive step towards reconciliation? Your answers are yes, no, or unsure. You can go to our website at www.aptnnews.ca to have your say. When we come back, we'll tell you about a late elder from the Yukon who fought to protect the land. Stay with us. On the east, St. John's -1, Charlottetown -14. Nain -20, Happy Valley, Goose Bay -19. -9 in Quebec City, St. Jovite -8. Ottawa -6, Peterborough -7. Sudbury -10, Elliott Lake -13. -19 in God's Lake, Norway House -21. -18 in Gimli, Dauphin -19 with sun. Flurries in Regina at -19, Saskatoon -22. -22 in Stony Rapids, sunny, and Buffalo Narrows at -20. Fort McMurray -14, Fort Chipewyan -19. Calgary -10, Red Deer -23. 4 in Tofino, Vancouver 0. Sands Spit 4, Prince George -17. Rock River -13, Mayo -22. Partly cloudy in Yellowknife at -21, Wati -24. Inuvik -28, Polituck -21. -25 in Chesterfield, Baker Lake -26. And Iqaluit -28, Agulik, same temperature. A First Nations elder from the Yukon who helped lead the fight to protect the Peel watershed passed away last week. Jimmy Johnny was a member of the Nacho-Nayakdun First Nation. Johnny had a deep connection to the land, which led him to advocate for the protection of the Peel watershed. The watershed covers 68,000 square kilometers of untouched wilderness. Johnny was a common fixture at protests aimed at protecting the Peel from industry. After a years-long court battle, the Yukon government and impacted First Nations signed a land use plan protecting 83% of the peel from industrial development. Johnny's friend of 35 years, Kevin Barr, says he will be remembered as a kind person who cared deeply for the environment.
He cared about the Yukon, he cared about the land, he cared about, he was, you know, he walked, he lived his stories. You know, it was a way of life. Jimmy just lived his life.
It's that time again, a phrase of the day with T.R. Wheatley as part of Mother Tongue Teachings. All month long for I Love to Read Month, APTN will take you to the root of Indigenous languages. Today's lesson comes from Lucy Ansonen, a Dene woman from northern Manitoba who's sharing the name of a Dene hero on the anniversary of her passing.
Today I'm speaking with somebody who knows Dene. Let's get you to introduce yourself.
My name is Lucy Ansonen, and I am from Lac Brochet, Manitoba. The majority of the people will say Dene, but if you try to say Dene Suntlina, it will have a total different meaning if you, a non-speaker, says it. I have strong muscles in my area to say those sounds.
The mother tongue, it comes naturally to you.
This is a book that I wrote. And I spelled it in the way that I would say it in my language. So this one is tha. Narelther. So tha is an animal, it's marten. And the second part is shake. Tha narelther. That's her name. And she lived over 300 years ago. She died on February 5. She is our Dene hero. She was in York factory. So this is a true story. Mm-hmm. And I heard this story from my family. It survived over 10 generations. Because in those days, right, when we first had the fur trade started, not everybody wrote everything down, but the story has been told. And there's gifted storytellers. Talk to the elders, because you're not only hearing the story, you're hearing your language and beautifully told in a descriptive way. Lots of treasures are in their heads that we need to extract from them by asking them questions.
Thanks for that history, Lucy and TR. You can go to our website at aptnnews.ca/our stories to check out Mother Tongue Teachings with TR Wheatley. A new video will be posted there each weekday of this month. And that's your daytime newscast for this Wednesday, February 5th. We're back again in a few hours for your evening newscast. Make sure to join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech kwana masicho. Thank you, and we'll see you again. Ekse.